Military taking over, Tinubu's administration under serious attack as Obasanjo exposes Nigerians to this truth about democracy. So how is it related to military taking over? We need to be sure. Let's look through. In a speech delivered in Abeokuta, former President Olusegun Obasanjo argued that democracy has not been successful in Africa because it was imposed on the continent rather than being freely chosen. So he made this argument at a conference on rethinking Western liberal democracy and its applicability to Africa. He suggested that a different form of democracy, more suited to Africa cultures and tradition, may be more effective in promoting stability and development on the continent. According to former President Obasanjo, Western-style democracy has not succeeded in Africa because it does not adequately represent the interests and beliefs of the majority of people on the continent. He argued that the imposition of a Western model without regard for African cultures and customs has led to a lack of trust in the system and a failure to achieve the intended goals of democracy. He called for a more culturally sensitive approach to democracy that is more likely to succeed in Africa. According to Obasanjo, Western liberal democracy is a system of government in which a small group of people representing only some of the population rules over everyone else. He argued that this model does not truly represent the will of the majority of people and therefore cannot be considered a truly democratic system. So he called for a form of government that more accurately reflects the views and needs of the people it serves. Obasanjo argued that African countries should adopt Afro-democracy, a system that is defined and designed by Africans rather than Western liberal democracy, which he argued is imposed by outside forces. He claimed that this would allow the system to be more relevant and responsive to the needs of the people it serves. He emphasized the importance of local ownership and control of the democratic process in order for it to be successful. Obasanjo identified several key weaknesses of liberal democracy, including its colonial history, its emphasis on representation rather than direct participation, and its failure to address the need of the minority. He questioned the wisdom of a system that excludes some members of society and argued that a more inclusive approach would be more effective. He raised important questions about the role of minorities in the democracy and the extent to which their voices should be heard. So Obasanjo contended that the current system of government was not designed by Africans and yet is still being used despite its obvious shortcomings. He suggested that it is not working in the best interest of the people and called for a new approach that takes into account the unique circumstances and needs of Africa. He emphasized the importance of African ownership and agency in the political process. So Obasanjo observed that even the countries that have historically promoted liberal democracy are beginning to question its effectiveness and relevance. So he emphasized that the primary purpose of any political system should be to serve the needs of the people, not just to follow a set of principles that may no longer be appropriate or effective. He called for a re-evaluation of the current system and a renewed focus on the well-being of the citizens. Now, wow. So according to Obasanjo, it is necessary to examine both the origins and current state of democracy in the West and to critically assess its importance in Africa. He urged African countries to draw from their own cultures, traditions, and experiences to create a new model of democracy that truly reflects the need of the people. He argued, that it is foolish and ignorant to blindly follow a system that is not working for the people, and that it is time for African countries to take a more introspective and thoughtful approach to democracy. Now, wow, this one. So what are you going to call it? Afrocracy or Afro-democracy? Whatever you're going to call it, will it work? Because the problem we have in Nigeria is actually not democracy. It's about honesty. Because in all systems of government all over the world, whether it's democracy, whether it's parliamentary, whether it's monarchical, whether it is communism, whether it's authoritarianism or totalitarianism or whatever you call it, or autocracy or aristocracy, whatever you call it, there's no way everybody in the country will be involved, will be in government. So people will still be represented. A government will be formed, and a representative sample of the people will be in government to represent the entire populace. So what we need is absolute honesty on the part of the people representing the rest of Nigerians in the government. That is exactly what we need. So whether we create Afrocracy or Afro-democracy or whatever we create, as long as the people pioneering it and leading it are not honest, it is still not going to work. Our problem is corruption, and there's no system of government will work in the face of corruption. That is the truth. So it's a very serious one, I must say. Yeah, democracy has not worked, and the only reason it has not worked is because the people are not honest. Parliamentary system of government is working in the UK, and working in Canada, working in Australia. Presidential system of government is working in the United States and some other parts of the world. So why is it not working in Africa? And why is it not working in Nigeria? It's because the people in the government are not honest. In the US, you can try that because the law supersedes everybody, including the president. In the UK, you cannot try that because the law still supersede the prime minister and the members of parliament, okay, and even the monarch. So at the end of the day, it is about the honesty of the people, the rule of law, obedience to the rule of law, and being able to appraise the law, identify loopholes, and patch them, and continue to improve the law over time. That is just what we need for a system to be established. So, as long as that is not done, no matter the system of government you are going to introduce, it's not going to work. Honesty is the key. Somebody is reacting here and saying, I believe I understand that democracy is a system of government for the people and the people. But Nigerians turn democracy to establishing their own selfish interest in this country. Our leaders in Nigeria makes democracy to be a destroyable end in the life of our people. So democracy in Nigeria has turned the meaning of democracy upside down. Normally, I thought that the military regime was harsh, and I believe that civilian regime would be okay for the masses. But now, the reverse is the case. So now, democracy, politicians have proven that they are more corrupt than the military. So we might slide back to meritocracy very soon. Say whatever you like about OBJ, all he is saying is nothing but the truth. Only if you are enjoying that scam called democracy, we the majority are living like slaves in our own country. Now, the other day, okay, a friend told me their family is paid for giving birth to their 2 kids in Canada. Canadian government is paying the kids, paying Nigerians who came to their country. The question now is, what is Nigerian government paying us here? I paid over 250,000 when my wife did a CS in the Lagos State Hospital. I never see anything. Nigeria is grounded. It's English, everybody is speaking. What Nigerian government is practicing is not democracy. They are a bunch of thieves who steals what belongs to the masses. Tinubu today has bought Ajib added to Oando. He has already had making himself very rich, forgetting that he is on that seat to serve the masses, taking what belongs to the masses for himself. The complaint is just starting. I tell you the truth. Nigeria is a mirage. The true Nigeria is yet to emerge. We have not seen it yet. So thank you for listening, and let's have your comments.